Welcome back to Advocacy Alchemy with Professor Ross. We have a video today dealing with the issue. The one thing I always talk about in each of these videos that we do and we teach on is this key principle. The street is never the proper place to argue your case. I found a perfect example. All right, I'll have the credit in the description below to where you can go back and watch this whole video in full. If you don't like the way that I stop and talk and then we watch some more, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to lay out the different laws that we see at play while we listen. All right, let's start here. And well, let's talk about first. We're going to be using Search GPT, okay? All right, so we're going to use this as our advanced legal research tool. We're going to find out the location of where we're talking about, and we're going to look at some of the laws at play here, okay? All right, let's move into our scene, and let's talk about where we're at. All right, big rule, and the reason that we're even talking about this case today, and while we're talking about this incident, this body cam footage, is because we always say the street is not the proper place to try to make your case. All right, no need to make your case to the uniformed officers present. All right, it's best simply just see what they're there for, let them do their job, and go on about their business. All right, let's talk here. All right, first of all, we can find out some initial information about this body cam footage. All right, we see this was made on July the 9th of 2023. It's 7:38 in the evening. -7, so I guess this is probably mountain time, I believe. This could be mountain or it could be Pacific time. We'll look in a moment when we find some information about where this is. The key thing about many of these dash cam videos that you find on YouTube, and they don't ever tell you where they're at, so you just have to kind of use context clues, like when you see a badge up close or something of that nature, to really figure out. And they do that because they want to keep some anonymity. They want to keep it kind of anonymous about the people, so you just can't go and say, oh, I know that person, or that person's from my city, you know, something like that. All right, let's listen, and we'll pause, and we'll actually pull up some of the laws as they come into play. All right?
Property is being intruded on, and I'm getting ordered to go inside? Get the f*** off of me!
On July 9th, 2023, officers were dispatched to a neighborhood following a disturbance between a woman and her neighbor regarding their property line.
Yep. Can you put her inside too for a moment? Yeah, it's the police. Can you go inside? Go inside. I'll be with you in a minute.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I live here.
Cool. Can you go inside for me?
My home is being intruded upon.
Okay, I'll be with you in a moment.
Okay, first thing, shouts out to Body Cam Edition. All right, go over and give them a subscription and watch some of their other videos. And if you see one that you want me to talk about, send it over. My email can be found down below. Have a question, make a comment on this video, and we'll ride from there. All right, as you can hear, the officer just came onto the scene. He told the people on this side, and these look like some townhouses or some of those connected houses or something of that nature. All right, this side over here, to the left of the screen, and he's going to show them in a moment. He told them to go inside. He's going to come get them when he's ready, and he told this side, go home, and I will come over when I'm ready to speak to you, okay? All right, so with that, let's see what's going to happen and what's going to be the fallout from this situation.
Man, I want to see you guys so there's no further disturbance.
From who?
You're screaming
Me
as
and
I'm
my
walking
what?
up.
Me and who?
You are screaming as I walked up here.
My home is being intruded upon and you're telling me to go inside.
I'm asking you to
May
go
I
inside.
request a different officer, please?
Sure, you can talk to Officer Valpone here if you don't like the way I'm treating you. I think I was here last time.
You were.
Yeah.
You absolutely were.
What's going on? So you built this metal thing, right?
I
No,
made the whole
fence,
thing.
entire
Okay.
fence.
She complained because the fence supposed to be on her property. Okay, I
It's
said,
supposed to be on her property?
Supposed to
Oh,
be. She say like that, but I don't know. That's why I made my own.
She says it's
fence.
like too far over on her side?
Their dogs pee like shit. All they do is just pour water on it, and it always
Yeah.
goes onto our side.
Sure.
So my dad put like something there to block it.
Like this gutter thing?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you might be wondering why they're showing some people's faces and not others. I believe this young lady here may be a minor still, or she may have expressly told them she didn't want her face shown. All right. Otherwise, the other two people are adults, and every adult usually his face is not unredacted unless they've been injured or something of that nature. Okay, or in some kind of extremely compromising position. All right. Let's jump back in.
Okay.
So are you guys?
This is my wife.
Your wife? Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm trying to figure out what's going on. That's all.
a lot of this started off with these people being very rude to my wife. I told them, hey, get your property off of my property.
Oh, so you put the concrete thing here to block it?
Yeah.
And then she broke it?
And blocked the water. Yeah, and she broke it today.
They built a fence back.
Okay, pay attention up here. You can see that there's two officers on the scene right now asking questions. This number changes depending on what camera we're watching. It's usually these last 4 digits that will change. All right, this tells us what type of body cam is being worn by this officer. He's wearing an Axon body 3rd generation. That's what this number in this section means, okay, on this type of camera. Sometimes we'll see some videos where they're made by a different camera company, and there may be no information up here, all right? This is their symbol. When you see that symbol, that means we're talking about Axon body cams. They are a large part, maybe the major producer of most police body cams throughout the nation. There are other brands like Taser and things of that nature, but I don't see them very often. In my home jurisdiction, they have Axon body cam equipment. All right, different generations between different agencies, but this is pretty much what they use here. All right, so let's jump back in and see what happens here. All right, we know generally, let's talk about this. We know that we're talking about encroachment, okay? So this is what kind of action this is, and this is what it's known as. It's called encroachment. So let's look up some of the laws behind encroachment. We still don't know exactly where this is to get the particular law on the books here, but we can play around and we can use a couple examples of different places and an encroachment action and what needs to happen for encroachment. All right, so let's pause and let's take a look at a couple different places where this may be. This may be in, we'll start with Minnesota. We'll start with Minnesota and then we'll work our way over further until we find out where this is. Mountain time zone. So let's look in the mountain time zone area, Nebraska, Minnesota, maybe some of those different places, Colorado. Okay, so we see the steps to address property encroachment in Minnesota. It says in Minnesota, encroachment actions can be addressed through several legal avenues. All right, here are the key ones. All right, you have court action. You can file a lawsuit to seek a legal order to rectify the encroachment. This can involve seeking an injunction to remove the encroaching structure or claiming damages. All right, building a strong case. To succeed in court, you need to build a strong case demonstrating your ownership of the property and the nature of the encroachment. All right, so we're going to see a wall here, a little small ledge that was built to sort of divide these two properties, and it was destroyed. All right. Encroachment actions usually deal with a fence being built or some small structure, maybe a storage building that's put over too far onto your neighbor's property. All right. And as it says, you usually deal with those types of actions through a lawsuit, a small civil lawsuit that allows the courts to settle the issue between two parties. Remember, the street is never the proper place to argue your case. All right, so let's start. That was Minnesota. We're going to find out where this is. I believe this is, can't remember where I found this to be. I cleared those searches out so we can do clean searches while everyone is listening. And let's see here. We'll make sure you can see also what we got pulled up. Okay, that's better. That makes it large so you can see. All right, we looked up encroachment actions. You all can take a look at those. I read the first two, numbers 1 and 2, and we can talk about some of the other things too. You know, you have different easements that can happen, trespass, and how you can fix it. You can reform your deed, and sometimes local regulations come into play also. All right. We'll talk about these more as we get into what happens in this situation. All right, so let's continue forth and we'll watch what's going on.
City to get it taken care of.
Okay.
It is. So I was contacting the city to get it taken care of.
Okay.
And then this curb is on my property. She's rolled her ankle multiple times, which I said, you know, it's on my property. We're taking it off my property.
Yeah, and
They put it up.
please do not look at the line because they drew the line.
Right,
With
so,
paint.
like-
the line is based on the property.
Here's the thing. Property line disputes not a
Yeah.
police matter.
I know.
So I
That's
do
not why
this,
you guys
that's
are
also
here.
not a police
Well,
matter
if you
then.
well, here's the thing: is if you destroy it and it turns out it's their property, then
Well,
right,
until then,
depends-
it's not your matter
Okay,
either then.
you shaking your head and have an attitude towards me. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, and you going like this and talking to me in that way.
I
right?
think
You're
you're
an
jumping
adult.
ahead. I am
Advising
a
me-
very respectful person.
Well, then speak in a respectful tone.
I am.
No, you weren't earlier, and I'm trying to say.
Okay, we talk about it all the time with these videos, and it seems that this our lecture series become things where we talk about very basic tenets of civil society. Your peace officers, your law enforcement officials, your first responders, always be respectful when dealing with them. That's the easiest way to get your business handled efficiently and for everyone to quickly resolve the issue, if it can be resolved then, and move on with their lives. Okay? All right, so you see that let's take a look at, well, I know respect to a police officer is not going to be something because you have a First Amendment right to speak in any fashion you want to as long as it doesn't incite a riot or is determined to be certain fighting words. All right, so we won't even worry about a search there, but that's just a little common sense education for everyone. Be respectful. Be respectful whenever you're involved with this legal process in the justice system. If you come in front of a judge, be ultra respectful. If you're dealing with the police officers, be respectful. If you're dealing with your attorney, be respectful. If you're dealing with someone who works in the courts, be respectful. Have respect, and that way all business is able to be transacted easily. All right. Off the soapbox, back into the video.
I'm trying to keep this civil,
Because
right?
the second I got out, I was told to go back inside.
Okay, and yes, for someone different. And now I'm talking to you, and you're throwing attitude my way when I'm speaking with your husband, and he's explained this. You chime in with some snotty remark as we're trying to figure out what's going on, correct?
I'm not trying to be snotty.
Well, you're acting that way, and you're speaking in a snotty
Well,
manner.
if you've lived here long enough to have to put up with this, I'm not trying to be snotty.
But
I'm not.
do you think when we're trying to figure out what's going on, that making snark comments and speaking in a manner like that helps the
I'm
situation?
not trying to. Also, at the
She's
same
really
time,
upset
when you
because
just
they
fucking
told her to
came,
go back to
when
China.
you came up and told me
so
to
she's
go
a little
back
heated
inside.
at this moment because of this type of stuff,
when
right?
we rolled up, we were
Which,
parked all the way.
All right. As you see, this also deals with really what's the basis of many law enforcement, many police officers deal with these sort of issues all the time, sort of civil matters that aren't really at the level where the police need to be called out. Why I say it in that fashion is because you never know what level we're talking about, but the police need to be called out for emergencies, really. All right, what is an emergency? All right, that's really kind of subjective, but there are certain situations where there's a point, there's a tipping point that if we're going to call something an emergency, there is a point of no return where everything beyond this point is always an emergency. I think if we're talking about gunplay involved somewhere, that's an emergency. Someone threatening someone with a weapon brandished, meaning that it's out and they're waving it and they're making threats, or if they're showing it and they're making threats, that's a situation for the police. There's been an accident, that might be a situation for the police. All right? Let's see if this is really a situation where the police have been called here. Listen, and we'll talk about it together. That's the beautiful thing about this this platform. We can talk about these issues together, and we can see if we can get to the bottom of what's going on. So let's do that.
I mean, she's not trying to be rude to you guys, but the heating up of like telling her to go back to China—that's a really messed up thing to say.
And someone ends up getting arrested.
So your decisions is based on my behavior?
Oh my god. No.
I'm not trying to
They're
go
saying
that way.
she's screaming
I really
racist
am not.
remarks in our neighborhood.
No.
So,
But that was
so I
after
understand
that was after they told
if
her
they
to
say
to
go back.
China.
Okay,
Am I saying
right.
that
But
you-
2 wrongs do not make a right.
No, I'm not.
But we're saying that's why this officer asked you to go inside to calm the situation and we'd be in to speak with you. But you chose not to, right?
Forgive me for that. My property's been intruded on for as long as it has. The fact is, like I said, I have to live with this every day, and I am frankly sick of it. And for them to tell me to go back to China, I'm not even from China. But like I said, this is the line they.
So I think a lot of this probably became heated when you have two clear sets of immigrants, maybe. All right, I'll say maybe, allegedly. The other family, you saw the daughter was translating for the father and mother, so I would say there's a high chance they probably moved from somewhere else, immigrated from somewhere else. Here you have a woman who has an accent. That does not mean that she was necessarily born somewhere else. Her parents, she could be first generation. Her parents could be from somewhere else, and simply because the way that she learned English in the home could result in her having an accent. All right, so clear. So that may be the reason behind the call. All right, someone's upset that someone has said something to them. Words. We talk about fighting words. All right, let's look at fighting words in Minnesota. Fighting words. Remember, we don't know if Minnesota is actually our state yet, where all this is happening. But fighting words in Minnesota law. All right. In Minnesota, fighting words are defined as words that, by their very utterance, inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace. Telling someone to go back to some other country if they're a citizen here might be fighting words. Let's see. The definition aligns with the U.S. Supreme Court decision of Chaplinsky v. New Hampshire, 1942, which established that fighting words are not protected by the First Amendment. All right. So if a person uses fighting words, whatever they were saying will no longer be protected as First Amendment protected free speech. All right. Rav v. the City of St. Paul, 1992, is a significant example relating to fighting words. In this case, the U.S. Supreme Court held that an ordinance prohibiting fighting words that were racially motivated was unconstitutional under the First Amendment. The court ruled that the ordinance was impermissible, content-based, and overbroad. All right? This is actually a case that we learn about in law school here, this 1992 case. All right? As it prohibited speech on the basis of the subjects of the speech addressed, such as race, color, creed, religion, or gender. All right? And we can get into a more intricate argument on fighting words if we need to later. All right? Let's jump back in and let's see what's going to happen here.
True. This is a curb daylight, and this,
But you know
as
there's
you
something
can
wrong with this,
clearly
right? That's why
see,
you're
crossing
being-
the structure of the home of mine.
Okay, I get that, but then why are we destroying this today?
Because, like I said, if you come over here, this line was not laid by the HOA.
Okay, who was it
This
laid by?
line, them, that ain't gonna be here.
Okay, but then you can be, that is, if it is their property that they built and you destroy it, right?
On my
Hold
property.
on a second, the property line thing is, we don't know. So now you're destroying someone else's property.
Nope, it's
Yeah,
on my property.
You're being unreasonable at
I
this
am
point?
not.
Yes,
I
you
am.
are.
All right. Keep in mind that what she keeps talking about with the it's already on my property. All right. Unless she has some court order dealing with these two parties that has said this is where the property is, then she doesn't have a right to destroy some new property without there being some orders from the court. All right, that's what a turning point in a lot of this initial conflict is. All right, if you have a conflict with a neighbor, if you have a family member that has a conflict with a neighbor, all right, that you think is going to need some legal action to resolve the issue. All right, a fence is too far on your side. Um, anything like that, or they're getting ready to sell their land and they came and surveyed and they put some new stakes in the ground. They look like they're too far over on your side of your property. When you have something like that going on, get in contact with an attorney, okay? Because that's an issue that once they go about trying to sell that property, and if they fail to have a proper title search where they look at what the land has been surveyed as, someone potentially will come and buy property, and if they've done all their due diligence, all right, you're going to have a big dispute. You're going to have a big dispute. All right. So with that, let's jump back in. Let's see what's happening here.
Not.
Can I finish talking?
Yes, sir.
Okay. They poured concrete there because you guys were urinating and defecating in your yard. And
No, that is not the case.
Okay.
That
They
is
put it.
not the
Anyways,
case.
they put that there, correct? That's what you told me. They put that cement barrier there, correct?
What they did, yes.
So then that is the cement part is not your property, correct?
Correct.
You
So someone has the
destroyed
right to put it
something.
on my property.
Is it your property though? Do you know for sure? Do you
Yes,
have a
I
legal,
do.
you have
I
a
am
legal document?
more than.
Do you have a legal document that says that it's your
My
property?
deed will more than definitely tell you this is the line.
All right. So you hear her talking about her deed. All right. For everyone here who's never seen a deed to a property, a deed has a legal description that for most intents and purposes cannot be understood by an average person. All right, it requires you to hire a surveyor to go in, read each of those measurements, and measure out your property with a big measuring stick. Okay? It requires sometimes for someone to walk your full property if you have acreage, if you have acres and acres of property. All right? This is not something you can read a document and know exactly what a person is talking about. All right? Because it doesn't contain a picture. All right? It doesn't have any of those things. It's not a map. It's a written out long form version of what the description of the property is. This many feet this way. This turn this many degrees and then go this many feet that way, or this many meters that way. And then a grand total sum of what this property is. There are errors in deeds sometimes. Okay? I won't say all the time, but And not many times, but there are errors in deeds sometimes. All right, let's jump back in.
Here's the thing. Don't. You've taken a day. You emailed a day ago, right? These things take time. Just because you decide you're whatever goes on and you're going to destroy this, that's not how adults behave, is it?
Neither does the husband, right?
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
We're talking about an inch or two.
Inch or
correct?
two.
No, it's like more than 6. If I go onto your property being your next door neighbor and I go do the exact same
Well,
thing.
I'm polite
how well
with
would-
my neighbors.
I
so we get
am
along.
until I'm not.
That doesn't make sense to me.
Well, what law did I break?
So,
That's malicious
mischief.
Malicious. How about they maliciously built something on?
Okay, so we heard the first crime, malicious mischief. All right, let's type that in. Let's figure out where we might be talking about as far as penalties and things of that nature. All right. Okay. And just so you see, I have to do a bit of a quick advanced research. All right, some sort of some sleuthing. All right, some detective work. All right, they gave us what the term I put in our original search. Malicious mischief, so it can give me a definition. We're talking about laws already, so it remembers the context of a conversation. All right, so it says that's not a term they use in Minnesota. All right, so my next search is, well, where? What states use the term malicious mischief -7 hours time zone? States using malicious mischief in the mountain time zone. All right, Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Utah. They all use this term malicious mischief. All right, so we can winnow down where we might be talking about. I think this might be in Colorado once again, and we're going to find out in a moment when we get to the car, and we'll winnow it down. But let's use Colorado, and we'll work from there. Okay, guys, I found it. This is Kirkland, Washington, and Washington has the uh, malicious mischief and things of that nature. So we pause for a second there to go find that information. I have it now. Let's pull it up. Okay. All right, we see in Washington, malicious mischief is defined under Chapter 9A of 4.8 of the Revised Code of Washington. All right, it can go into 3 different degrees, and they have specific criteria for each degree and penalty. All right, first degree. A person is guilty of malicious mischief in the first degree if they knowingly and maliciously cause physical damage to another's property exceeding 5,000, cause an interruption or impairment of public services by damaging or tampering with emergency vehicles, state property, or public utilities, impair the safety, so on and so forth. This is not at that level, I don't believe. That's a Class B felony, punishable by up to 10 years in prison, fine of up to 20,000. Let's come on down. We know we're talking about probably third degree. A person guilty of malicious mischief in the third degree is to knowingly and maliciously cause physical damage to another's property under circumstances not amounting to the first or second degree. To write, paint, or draw any inscription, figure, or mark on any public or private building or property without the owner's express permission. This is a gross misdemeanor, punishable by up to 364 days in jail, 1 day short of 1 year, and a fine of up to 5,000. They talk about the different physical damage. All right, any alteration to tear down a wall is an alteration. Okay, damage, obliterate, and that also can be considered obliteration. Um, Erasure of records, information, data, computer programs, or their representations, and any diminution in the property value. All right, I think this falls under that third degree level. All right, let's jump back in.
But they maliciously built something on
Which you
my
have no legal documents
property.
to. That's what you're missing.
What is
You're
their
missing-
legal document to build anything on my property legally, physically, as
Ma'am,
you can see,
ma'am,
attached to my
Ma'am,
property?
there's two ways to resolve this issue today. Ma'am,
Hey.
you look at me. There's two ways to resolve this issue today. You calm down, or we may have to take you to jail.
Why? What did I do?
You committed the crime of malicious mischief.
Mischief.
There's
And
two
You
ways
would love that. You won't you say that again in front of them?
They know this because you destroyed their property.
How about they maliciously laid it onto my property?
How long has that been there? How long has that
Does
thing?
it matter?
Yes,
Because I
you
have been asking and asking and asking, and they refuse to remove it.
And how long have you taken any type of, like I said, official action
I don't
with
know,
the city?
husband. How long? What have you done to actually?
How much have you had to drink today?
To
Too much.
no.
Too much. If you've had too much to drink today, you're behaving.
Why is it always me and my drinking?
Well, let's see.
All right, so classic. Why is it always me and my drinking? All right, let's take a look at Washington's statute for public intoxication. All right, key point here. You see that it says that public intoxication itself is not a specified criminal offense in Washington. Related behaviors such as disorderly conduct and public consumption of alcohol are regulated by the state. All right, so public consumption of alcohol means that you have to actually be seen doing it. Let's see. We saw a definition there was, all right, but we do have disorderly conduct. We're going to look at that one. All right, so the public intoxication is addressed under various statutes in Washington state. All right, Disorderly conduct. This is found at the Revised Code of Washington 9A.84.030. A person is guilty of disorderly conduct if they use a piece of language and thereby intentionally create a risk of assault. Intentionally disrupt any lawful assembly or meeting of persons without lawful authority. To intentionally obstruct vehicular or pedestrian traffic without lawful authority. All right, the penalties. All right, it's a misdemeanor up to 90 days in jail. All right, fine of up to $1,000. We also see that they have public consumption of alcohol. That's talking about having an open container. And actually be drinking in public. I think this is what we're going to go under here. Disorderly conduct. All right, let's continue forth.
The one destroying stuff.
I didn't
because you're
destroy
upset
it.
about
I am
what-
removing something that is on my property, and it does not always equate to me, my drinking.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to go right now. You are going to go inside. You are not going to cause a disturbance the rest of the night.
What disturbance have I caused?
Screaming racist remarks.
Oh, and they haven't?
I'm not saying they haven't. I'm saying that.
Why am I going inside and they're sitting out here?
Because they're not the ones screaming at the police in the parking lot.
Oh, because
You saw the husband in the background trying to give her the high sign, like, hey, bring it down a couple notches, please. All right. Everyone kind of present knows how this potentially could go bad. All right. Who wants to get arrested at their own house in a dispute with the neighbors, and the neighbors see you get arrested for acting belligerent? How is that going to help your case later on down the road? Because you know it's going to come up. Because an arrest is an official record. They can always come back up. All right. Never argue your case in the street. She's literally in the street right now. You see the trash cans on the curb? In the street trying to argue her case. Look how it's going. All right. Let's jump back in.
they just didn't do it while we were here.
They have not done it since I'm here, correct. 2 neighbors came outside and said that you were screaming racist Hispanic and Mexican-related remarks.
I did not, and I told them to come here and look, and then they went back inside.
We're not going to get into specifics.
No, and that's
Here's
what
what's
I'm
going to happen. You're going to go inside or you're going to jail.
Than what you think it is. So.
All right, that's the lawful order now. You have to go inside or go to jail. The ultimatum. Do this or do that. If you're ever involved in any police interaction and that ultimatum comes up, do which one that the officer is trying to encourage you to do, okay? Don't go to jail on something that's not worth going to jail over.
Unless if you have it on video, because I didn't say what you think.
Go inside or you're going to jail. This is your last chance. Do you understand?
Please, go inside, please. Okay?
I didn't do anything.
I know you.
Then go inside.
Okay? Please.
My property is being intruded on, and I'm getting ordered to go inside.
Just right now,
You see, even this officer here, he moved back to give her some room so there's no extra incident where it didn't have to be. Look, everybody wants to just go ahead and go on about their business. She's upset. She's super upset. All right, let's get back in.
Please go inside.
You guys, can I be taken to jail for you? You guys, move your f***ing fence. Move your fence.
Go inside your house.
How about you guys do something about this?
Please go inside.
Why am I getting orders to go inside? My property is being intruded on.
Okay. Also remember, another key point, if you're going to be having some police interactions, you might want to keep your own drinking or whatever usage down before you have to interact with these public officials, okay? All right, they're not going to be intoxicated while they're on their job trying to see about you. Sometimes I understand you are how you are, how you're found, but look, doesn't help, does not help. And we do see these are some type of townhouses or something like that, and that's if these people even. Obviously, they must have some kind of ownership rights if he's constructing something on the property. So maybe. All right, let's jump back in. Let's see what's going on here.
No, you're not. You never have. You never have. You never have.
Yep.
If I go to jail, it's your fault. It's your f***ing fault.
She steps out and takes it.
Move your f***ing fence.
She needs to go inside.
Nancy, you need to go inside.
Why? This is my
Yes, I can hear you screaming. You're causing a disturbance.
f***ing property. No, it's my f***ing property. Why are you removing me?
All right, let's see about disturbing the peace. Does that come up in Washington? Disturbing the peace. Okay, when you say disturbing the peace, it falls in the same place. And you see that what I'm doing is a lawyer in this place will do a very similar search. Now they'll know about their own laws because, hey, especially if it's a lawyer who constantly deals with these types of issues, he'll remember where he needs to probably go and look in their statutes to find what he's looking for. All right. Many things and many of the typical actions have been defined in laws, all right? When there are new things happening, you've always heard the old adage, there's nothing new under the sun, right? It's very true. A lot of things have been already codified, and right and wrong has been determined for many of the different actions that people have in common society. Encroachment and issues and people being too loud outside, those issues have been dealt with time and time again. All right. And it's never new for police officers to show up for one thing and arrest a person for something different. All right. That's nothing new. All right. Disorderly conduct. It deals with abusive language and thereby that intentionally creates a risk of an assault. Disturbing the peace is addressed under the disorderly conduct statute. All right, to intentionally engage in fighting or in tumultuous conduct, or to make unreasonable noise within 500 feet of a location that is one of these. It's a misdemeanor. It all still falls under, it's a misdemeanor, up to 90 days in jail, and a fine of up to $1,000. I'll leave it up for a second. Let's continue listening, and then I'll make it big here in a second. Give you a chance to.
I'm not removing you. I'm putting you deeper inside your property.
No!
Let's go inside. Nancy.
No, I'm not smoking inside.
I'm not going to let them out. I'm standing right
They're
here.
really sure. They're really nice.
I know.
They're really nice.
I know. Hi, puppies.
Sorry.
I'm making sure it doesn't get physical because if
Oh,
it does,
It's not.
What did I
Trying to
do?
get her inside.
I know. I really don't want to make this the
I
thing.
know. It's not. I'm trying to let me step outside
Okay.
so it's
Oh,
not.
what did I
off, so
ask
there's
for?
nothing. She.
Is she going to go inside? She should go inside. She's causing a public disturbance.
Nancy, if you don't go inside, please.
It's your fault.
Okay, it's my fault. Please go inside. Please go inside.
Let me go.
It's your sister. Just please.
No, let me in.
No, Eva.
Get me in.
I'm
Come
going.
here. You're under arrest.
Why?
No,
You're under
I'm
arrest.
going
Put your hands behind your
inside.
back. Put your hands behind your back.
Because I'm going inside.
Move, sir. You're under arrest.
For what? Because I'm already going inside. I'm not. Call my f***ing lawyer. Congratulations, my kids are.
All right, so you heard her say, call my lawyer. All right, we are at a point where we've talked about this issue into the ground. She should have called a lawyer when dealing with the encroachment issue itself and not taking it to her own hands to destroy property or to cause disturbances, okay? So when this body cam footage is viewed, or when it was viewed, dealing with this whole situation, she's going to be in the wrong. All right, this is all back from July of last year, so this is probably well and over now. All right, but in the long run, remember when these footages come back in front of a jury, they're seeing the whole footage, how a person acts, and they're making a decision based on that. Now, we always have the restriction against the golden rule, meaning the attorneys can't come and tell you to put yourself in the shoes of any of the people present in this situation. But there's always the fear, and it's pretty much human nature that when something happens to someone else, people inevitably can see themselves in that same situation. All right. Now, we're not talking about when someone sees someone else and they find some sort of gratification from someone going through something. That's a whole different talk altogether. All right. But if you're in a jury and you're dealing with a serious situation, you've been instructed time and time again that today, or however long this trial is going to take, is serious, and we're going to be serious. People are going to hear the facts, and they're going to think, what if that was me? Or what if I was in that situation? Or what if that was my mom or dad that had to deal with whatever situation? That's how we process things. All right? Okay, let's get back into it.
That's your fault.
How is that my fault? You ain't doing shit about what you're supposed to do!
Nancy, stop. They will.
Okay? Side note, or sidebar. The husband can do nothing at this point in time. She's screaming at him, talking about, you haven't done anything about this. Whew. And notice all this. You got the American flag on this house. You got this National Rifle Association. Hopefully this situation doesn't turn dangerous with these two neighbors living beside each other. All right? But she's upset for the wrong reason right now. Can't be upset at her husband. Her husband's tried to tell her all this time, like, hey, look, calm down, Nancy. We know her name now. There's nothing we can do right now, but keep your calm, and we'll deal with the situation as, time goes by.
What am I doing?
Do not kick me.
I didn't
Do not
kick
kick me.
You stepped on me.
She didn't
You stepped on me. Yeah, go ahead, toss me.
She didn't mean to.
Go ahead, toss me on the ground. Go ahead, toss me. Let's go. Toss me on the ground. Yeah, rip my fence while you're at it. No, you did that. I clearly see your hand. Yeah, you kids. I hope you're happy. Doing nothing. Doing nothing.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, she needs to behave a little better.
I'm behaving. You, I'm a adult.
Act like one.
You at like one.
Well, I'm here.
You ain't doing shit about people encroaching.
If I can talk for a second. When I was in law school, I stayed in this small apartment at one point in time, and the neighbor right beside me, would constantly fight. Him and his girlfriend would constantly fight, and they were very loud, and it'd be bad fighting. And they'd fight sometime out at the cars, where the cars parked directly underneath our set of windows, because we had apartments on that back side toward the parking lot. Living in close quarters to other people, living in a neighborhood, living in some townhouses, living in apartments, sometimes you might have other people you live in a close vicinity to who are always causing a disturbance. And that's a hard living situation. All right, that's just a riff for a moment there. All right, we see that she's definitely probably going to be charged with disorderly conduct. We heard an officer say, "Don't try to kick me." If you injure an officer, that's automatically going to be more serious charges. All right, probably some felonies here in Washington. Let's take a look and see what could potentially happen for charges for resisting arrest. Okay, so we see that there is a Washington statute that deals with resisting arrest. That's found at chapter 9A point 76.040. All right, the definition. All right, it's always good to know the definition of what statute we're talking about, because this sort of deals with the intentions that the legislator had with when they wrote these rules. A person is guilty of resisting arrest if they intentionally prevent or attempt to prevent a peace officer from lawfully arresting them. Misdemeanor, up to 90 days in jail, a fine of up to 1,000. We see this is that misdemeanor range, I believe, for them is this third degree. Let's look up levels of offense, misdemeanor, and felony. All right, so I put this in so we can actually have a list of what those different misdemeanors are called, what the felonies are called in the state of Washington. So in Washington, we have misdemeanors and we have felonies. Criminal offenses are categorized into both misdemeanors and felonies, with each carrying different levels and penalties. All right, misdemeanors. You have simple misdemeanor. That's up to 90 days in jail, a fine of up to 1,000. Disorderly conduct is one of the examples. Driving while having a suspended license in the third degree. All right, gross misdemeanor. That's 1 day short of a full year. And also, it is. Hang on, I lost my place here. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So we have anything shy of 1 day shy of 1 year is considered a felony, and anything shy of 1 day of a year is considered a misdemeanor. Anything over that, everything 1 year or above is considered a felony. Okay, let's see our felonies. We have Class A felonies, which are the highest. All right, it's the most. It's for most serious offenses. Carries life imprisonment and a fine of up to 50,000. All right, we have Class B felonies, up to 10 years in prison, a fine of up to 20,000. All right, Class C felonies, up to 5 years in prison, a fine of up to 10,000. All right, so they don't have as many levels as some places, but I mean, you can separate out pretty much every crime into these levels, 5 levels, and that's a good separation. All right, let's jump back into the video and let's see what is going to happen to Nancy.
Perfect right there. Can you hold that for me? Thank you. Go ahead and get inside the apartment there. Alright. I want to let you know that you're under arrest for malicious mischief in the 3rd degree, and I'm still going to investigate whether we're going to arrest you for disorderly conduct, okay?
Yep, my home is, like I said, being intruded on.
Okay.
And this is what you get. Is this your quota?
No, we
To
don't have
arrest
quotas.
somebody just because?
Nancy, I'm going to be honest, I would have preferred to just leave and resolve the problem.
I wish you would have, and I was going inside. I was just trying to have a smoke. I was seriously just trying to have a smoke, and you came into my little corner of where I was going to smoke, and you arrested me.
That is 100% correct.
Yeah, so I was going to do what you wanted.
Do me a favor and just stop talking. So
And not talking. Yeah, of course. That's what all you guys ever want. Fucking stop talking. Fucking stop talking. That's all you guys ever want.
Let me know when you're ready.
Ready for what?
To read your rights to you. You have the right to remain silent. Anything
I
you say-
didn't. I wasn't a.
Okay. As we can tell, Nancy's obviously she's upset, and also she's intoxicated a little bit. So, being someone who deals with very serious issues all the time, this is, it's something I can truly say, okay, hey, let's try to curb our behavior and do better, but it's not the worst situation, okay? Let's pull up and see if there's any other laws that I wanted to take a look at here. Let's see. No, I was going to look up some detaining versus arrest, but not necessarily on this one. We'll talk about that in depth on a different video that I have in mind already concerning the difference between being detained and arrested. All right, but I guess we'll let them cook. We'll let them finish up.
I don't have any rights.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say
I have rights as a what? How my fucking property is being intruded on, and I get arrested.
Present with you while you are being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before questioning if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do Do you understand those rights?
Nope, I do not.
Which part did you not understand, or would you like me to reread the whole thing?
I do not know why I'm arrested for protecting my home. I thought this was a stand your ground state.
Before we talk any further, I need to understand that you understand your rights.
I do not.
Okay.
I do not, and I would like to ask you to please.
All right, so once again, if you are ever arrested, remember the street is not the proper place to argue your case. If you read your Miranda rights, it's best to go ahead and wait until you can speak to an attorney. Request to speak to an attorney and do so. Or if you're just going to pay the ticket, if it's a ticket-worthy offense, something where you can just receive a citation, or you can go back and pay the cash bond and be released on something small. But the best advice is always to listen to what the officer is saying. Go ahead and enforce your right to remain silent and speak to an attorney once you've made it out of this situation.
Ask my husband to call in to work for me.
Okay.
To
I can do that. Can you let me read your rights again so you understand them?
I don't understand it because I don't feel like I violated anything other than maybe
there's a difference
destroying
between-
the fucking curb that wasn't supposed to be there.
And that's exactly what you're under arrest for.
Well, you know what? That's great. You guys want to arrest people whose home's being intruded on? Kudos.
Okay. It's really important that I make sure you understand your rights.
I don't understand. I have lost brain cells. I don't understand.
I tried. I really did.
I really wanted to go inside.
What's done is done. Let's focus on the future.
No. I know that.
I'm not talking to you.
Why?
Because I don't need to hear anything you have to say.
Mine's still on. I'll go talk to. I'll get statement. Just get her out of here.
What is this? What's wrong with this society teaching someone to stand up for their rights? But if you do, this is what you get.
It didn't stop there.
You need to stop punching yourself and just, okay?
I can't.
If otherwise I'll have to put you in cuffs.
Oh yeah, you can put me in cuffs. You can probably put me in a hospital, but I can't.
Okay.
I can't.
You can put her in cuffs, Hawkinson.
Okay, so notice they're back at the jail. She's sitting in one of the chairs. So they tell her to sit down, and they've probably gone through photographing her. She's now being interviewed by a female officer who can perform the various different searches of a person and inventory their clothes if they're going to be placed, into a jumpsuit and into jail for the evening or whatever. All right. But let's continue on. There's more things that happen here at the end of this video. Probably all could have been avoided if she would have just followed the police officer's orders, gone into the house, let the police leave, and then she could have smoked her cigarette or whatever she was trying to do outside.
Just put your hands behind your back. We're going to put you in cuffs so you don't hurt yourself.
You would put me in cuffs again. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, I'm resisting again too.
You're not resisting.
I am not. I never was.
The woman's behavior prompted concerns, leading to her transfer to another facility for her safety.
Please don't take me down there, please.
I don't have a choice.
Please.
Put your leg back
I
in the
cannot go to school. They won't give me care.
Put your leg back there.
Please take me to a fucking hospital. I can't go to fucking school.
During transit to the facility, the woman began hitting her head against the glass, prompting the officer to pull over.
Let me see if you have any injuries. Do you have any pain anywhere?
Yeah, you're giving me a pain in my ass. Get it off my eyes, will you please?
No.
Why? Bing me.
Thank you. Oh, no problem.
It didn't stop there.
All right, so notice that they had to transport her to a different facility, and they had to stop mid-trip, and they're going to stop again mid-trip. So just continue to listen. It's not very much longer left. As you see, this is only 18 minutes. We're at minute 15 now. So 3 more minutes, and we'll discuss if there's anything left to discuss.
Probably just moved to South Kirkland parking ride.
The officer had to stop once more to provide additional safety measures.
You're not getting the helmet off your head.
Well, you're not fitting it properly on my head.
Yeah, it's too big.
No, you're not fitting it properly on my head. That's against the safety rules.
Yeah, that's why we're stopped.
Stop. I know the safety rules.
Okay. We're gonna have another helmet come though. That's smaller.
Stop. Let me go. Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah, you're hitting my head against the wall.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are! You just did!
All right, so just so we're clear, you can receive additional charges for resisting and any other batteries that happen after you've been placed under arrest. All right, it's not uncommon for people to have new charges or more charges based on what happens once they're incarcerated. Okay, so keep that in mind. Also, who wants to have a ride that they don't want to have anyways, and then they have to make additional stops to either hog tie you or put this helmet on your head? All right, let's continue. Let's see.
You just hit my head against the
You're
wall.
wearing a helmet. You're
Yeah.
fine.
Oh, so it doesn't matter?
Can you
Yeah.
stop
Well, you're
hitting your head?
doing it. You're doing it as we speak. Like off my head. Let the off my head. Get off my head.
Stop hitting your head. I don't want you to hurt yourself. We get to the
No! Let me off! Put me in the hospital! No! Help! Help! Let go! Help! Let go.
Stop.
Let go! Help! I can't breathe.
Breathe.
Get off of me! I can't f***ing breathe! Get the f*** off of me!
We have medics coming.
No, you don't.
Please work with me.
I begged you. I begged you. I said, please, get off of me. Think about how well this would go. Think about it.
It would go a lot better if you listened to what we were trying to tell you when you went with the program.
Hey Nancy, I'm Officer Baker. I haven't been here before. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, okay?
That's great. Give me my...
How can I help you
I
out?
need my... Put me in the hospital right now. Can you get it off my eyes?
I can try to do that, yeah.
Okay? It's all over my face. Okay? I cannot not see. It's beyond, like, less than human rights. You can't do that. I want to be able to see. Get me the out of here.
All right, Nancy, my friends with the Bellevue Fire Department are here to check you out.
All right, as you can see that she was actually placed into, let's see if we can get back to it. It's a few frames back here. That harness that she's wearing is an apparatus, depending on the police department, that is a hog tie. All right, basically that keeps a person immobile where they can't move around and get loose. This can be done on a person that's double jointed and can get out of the handcuffs. This will be done to a person who is trying to harm themselves in the back of a car to keep them from having so much ability to move around so much. You can see it better from one more there. This has her legs strapped in and her whole, her whole body basically is strapped into like a cocoon.
Nancy, my friends with the Bellevue Fire Department are here to check you out, make sure you're medically okay.
I'm requesting to have immediate medical attention at a hospital because it's beyond all of you guys' capabilities.
Hi, Nancy.
Well, here's the medical professionals.
Hi, Nancy. I'm Jessica.
Hi.
We're just gonna get your blood pressure and check you out medically, okay?
The woman was medically cleared and was later charged with malicious mischief for destroying her neighbor's property. Her husband posted bail for her immediately afterward. Do you believe they will resolve the property line dispute? Share your thoughts.
All right, so once again, shout outs to Body Cam Edition. Thank you for the video and putting it out there in the public so we can take a look at it. How do you all feel about that? Do you believe that they'll work out their issues? She was only charged with the malicious mischief for the destruction of the neighbor's property. But due to how they had to deal with that situation there, I don't think this is going to go away. Now you have neighbors that are going to absolutely hate one another. I can almost guarantee as long as both of those families live there, there'll be more calls to the police for assistance. This was a video that I wanted to show you all to point out that the street is not the proper place to argue your case. Nothing is achieved by arguing in the streets. Once again, this is Professor Ross with Advocacy Alchemy. Leave a comment below. Remember, if you're dealing with a situation like this, an encroachment or a ticket even for disorderly conduct, seek out the assistance of an attorney that's licensed in your area that can assist you, one who's dealt with this issue before. And hopefully you can find some relief with the situation you're dealing with. This is Advocacy Alchemy with Professor Ross. Have a good evening.